6:04, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Start your Tuesday off at 64 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Good morning, everybody. As we always do, we have a busy show stacked up for you today. A little hodgepodge. We're kind of all over the place. We're at that point in the year where you're catching the year in review from just about everybody up there. 2024 was a busy one, and 2025 is stacking up to be even more so. So we're going to have a number of conversations on that front. We'll get you to the rundown in just a minute. However, you know how we start off. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
2 men were arrested in Tangipahoa Parish for sex crimes against children. One of them is accused of luring his victims to his home for chicken nuggets and sex. The Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office released the information about the two separate investigations yesterday morning. Sheriff Gerald Stickers says for the past month, detectives have worked alongside the statewide group Indecent Crimes Against Children Task Force and the Attorney General Liz Murrell's office. The two people were arrested. 37-year-old Preston Murray of Brobridge was booked into the parish jail on December 10th, and 46-year-old Joshua Colley of right here in Baton Rouge was booked on December 13th.
Number 4.
The location of a long-awaited new Mississippi River bridge aimed at easing traffic congestion will not be clear until the third quarter of next year, late summer, early fall 2025. Per Charles Lucier of The Advocate, the latest estimate came during a meeting of the Capital Area Road and Bridge District Commission overseeing the Baton Rouge Bridge project, which met on Monday. After the meeting, Joe Donahue, State Transportation Secretary, acknowledged that aspects of the timeline have shifted since September, but the overall timeline is still the same.
Number 3.
Nakamoto's back. Investigative TV reporter Chris Nakamoto will be joining the news team right across the street over at WAFB. The station made the announcement yesterday. He's going to join the 9 News team in January as chief investigative reporter. Will also co-anchor the 5 p.m. news along with anchor Tisha Powell. Nakamoto worked for 2 decades as an investigative reporter with our news partners at WBRZ before leaving the station a year ago. Spent the last year working for Investigate TV, the investigative arm of WAFB's parent company, Gray Media. He'll continue to contribute to Investigate TV as he takes on his new role at WAFB.
Number 2.
Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles said yesterday their systems were down, but they've since been restored. No reason was immediately given for the outage, but systems were restored shortly before 1 p.m. Officials said customers can visit the OMV website to reschedule appointments and services.
Number 1.
As 2024 comes to a close, the number of homicides within the city of Baton Rouge is actually down from last year, though those numbers are dangerously close to changing. With 2 weeks left to go in the year, Baton Rouge police report 80 homicides within the city limits. That's down from 2023's 81. Parish-wide, the number of homicides is up. It's at 106 compared to last year's 102. What you got there, John?
Well, starting off with tragedy here, a student opened fire at a private Christian school Monday morning in Wisconsin, killing 2 people and injuring numerous others before apparently committing suicide.
So I'm trying to sift through all the information about this. 15-year-old?
15-year-old, yes.
With
15-year-old girl.
Both feminist and neo-Nazi tendencies at the same time?
Yes.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Man.
Yeah.
Going to be a lot to unpack on this one. She killed 2, she injured 6, and then she killed herself.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
yes. And it was a second grader who actually made the 911 call, which is
really
devastating. Yeah.
Wow.
Terrible.
Oh,
man.
Yeah.
So for a minute here, let's forget about the drones for a second, all right? In a congressional hearing, ex-Pentagon official Lou Elizondo claims that the U.S. and some adversaries possess UFO technology and are keeping it secret.
I love everything about that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The UFOs that they're calling UAPs, I think.
Yeah.
Unidentified aerial phenomenon. What's wrong with the term UFO?
It's
like, let's just stick with UFO. We all know UFO.
Right.
Changing it to aerial phenomenon doesn't change anything.
Yeah, don't change it now.
But they're making it sound like there's so much more behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Everything that it's like they're just teasing us with it.
I don't know. It's kind of exciting. I don't know. A couple weeks ago when they were having these hearings, it's so funny that it seems to be overlooked. We're so desensitized, man. They're like, we've got alien technology. And we're like,
Yeah.
but
Why
we're
not?
just moving on about our lives.
Why not?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Just in time for December here. 18 states have a high chance at a white Christmas this year, with even more states expecting a fair chance at holiday snow, according to a map shared by AccuWeather on Monday. Unfortunately, though, Louisiana is nowhere near them.
Nowhere even close.
No.
Yeah, it's looking like probably Memphis, Tennessee will be about as far south as it gets. Yeah. Dallas, well, I guess Dallas is maybe further south than Memphis by a little bit.
Yeah.
But further to the west. So, but no, we're not in this map. Well, we're on the map, but we're not even in one of the areas bordering one of the areas that's going to get snow.
Every year we hope for it, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep. Sure is.
We're at 610 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Talking about the even the mere possibility of snow, we might be seeing temperatures in the 70s on Christmas Day. I know it's too early to look that far ahead, but we might see 71 under sunny skies on Christmas Day.
Shorts and flip-flops on Christmas,
yeah,
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right, we got sports coming your way in just a little bit. LSU's joining that Seinfeld gang, the Van Buren boys. We'll talk about that. First, though, before we get you to our break, got to remind you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. So, if you hop on to parishbuilt.com, let the website open up right there. Right there on the homepage, it says, how can we help? And you fill in your name, your email address, your phone number. The drop-down menu offers up the different services you might need. I use them for roofing. I am a happy roofing customer with parishbuilt.com, Parish Construction and Roofing. They like to say do business with someone you know. And from the moment I took that on, from the moment I filled out the little form on the website, I learned exactly what that means. It means do business with someone you can rely on. Do business with someone you can trust. Do business with someone who's going to call you back if they didn't take your call right when you called. Parishbuilt.com is the website. 364-1007 is the phone number. I've used them. I cannot more highly recommend the relationship that's built over time, the satisfaction with the job that's done. They just made it easy from start to finish. So do business with someone you know. Pull up that website, parishbuilt.com.
Some mornings that coffee just hits different. This
You what?
morning's one of those mornings.
Yeah. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along tonight right here on Talk 107.3 FM. You're going to catch LSU women's basketball coming your way. I believe they have got dang it, scroll down. Sorry, my screen reset real quick. Seton Hall 5 p.m. tip-off, 4:30 airtime. Patrick Wright will be on the call for the LSU Sports Radio Network. LSU, Kim Mulkey's Tigers taking on Seton Hall. They are actually at Seton Hall. They're up in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun Arena. So 5 p.m. tip-off time right there. Meanwhile, the men are, I believe, at home taking on Dayton tonight. That's going to be a late one. That's an 8 p.m. tip-off. As 7:30 will be your airtime there. 8 p.m. tip-off. Nope, I'm sorry. Taking on, is that right? Stetson. Yeah. Taking on Stetson in the Maravich Assembly Center. 7:30 airtime, 8 p.m. tip-off. Chris Blair will be on the on the call for the LSU Sports Radio Network right down the hall on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Meanwhile, LSU football picked up a quarterback who actually started 8 games in the SEC in 2024. Freshman Michael Van Buren was pressed into the starting role at Mississippi State when Blake Shapen went down with a season-ending injury. In 10 games, Van Buren threw for 1,886 yards and 11 touchdowns. David Murray covers the Mississippi State Bulldogs for 247 Sports. He says Van Buren throws a nice deep ball.
The kid has one thing that can't be taught. He has a beautiful touch on the deep ball. He can, on time, on target. His problem simply is he's short. They list him at 6'1". He probably is 5'11".
Van Buren has 3 years of eligibility left. Murray says he would have been the Bulldogs' backup in 2025 with Shapen returning from his injury. Says LSU's NIL dollars helped lure him to Baton Rouge.
They've got a guy who can make all the throws. He's got the arm, he's got the aggression, and he's got the recognition. So I think it's a fine pickup for them. It simply was a state where Mississippi State could not afford investing so much NIL when they've really got to get out there and find a bunch of linebackers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen.
The NIL stuff is, it's changing the way, it's changing everything about not just recruiting and transfer portal stuff, but roster management as well. Man. By the way, Van Buren also threw 7 interceptions. He was sacked 27 times for a team that went 2-10 in 2024. So, obviously not getting a whole lot out of Mississippi State as far as judging what his overall potential is. Murray says Van Buren is known to hang on to the ball in the hopes of hitting that deep pass.
When you have the ability to put the ball down there long, you're going to wait longer, rightly so. You see the potential for the big hit down there. You wait until the last second you have to run, then you take off. So I think that's something that can be refined at the college level, certainly.
Looking forward to it. Roster's coming together. Transfer portal's been strong this offseason. Here's the Fox Business Report. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, Boo. Let's head on back to the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center and get a good look at what's going on out there. We're going to start off on the interstates, as we always do. And we'll start off on 12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs. So starting way back by Jubin, you'll see a little bit heavier than normal volume. It'll slow down really good by Range Avenue, then it'll pick back up again. But you've got added volume throughout your drive on 12 westbound all the way up to the 10-12 merge. On again, off again, but it's heavier than normal throughout the whole distance. Meanwhile, 10 westbound's looking great. Coming in from Ascension Parish, 10 eastbound's looking great from West Baton Rouge Parish. 110 is looking great as well, and there are no surface street accidents to report at this time. That's your look at traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. .625 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. I'll give you that rundown for today, at least our guest list. Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics, joins us every Tuesday. I want to check in with Jeff about a couple different things, not the least of which is another building in New Orleans' CBD looks like it's falling down. And it's not the biggest one out there. It's a 3-story building on the I want to say on the corner of Lafayette and O'Keefe, but that might be wrong. Either way, it's problematic to be sure when you got buildings falling down, blocking off roadways. Bad enough for the building, but then, you're jamming up the roadways as well. We'll talk about that, and crime numbers are way, way down in New Orleans. In fact, looking at about when you combine homicides and other violent crimes and auto thefts, down by about 40% last year to this year. So Troop NOLA is working. We'll talk with Jeff Crouere in our next segment. 7:15, Anna Johnson from the West Baton Rouge Chamber going to hop on board. They had some big wins this year and got some big plans for next year. We'll talk with Anna at 7:15. 7:35, we got Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. They've been hard at work this year as well, specifically on the educational front. And we'll talk with Chris about what they've done there and in a few other spots. 8 o'clock hour, 8:15, Avery Davidson from the Louisiana Farm Bureau is going to join us. Are we anywhere close to seeing a farm bill? I know we're going to talk about this again on Thursday when Ag Commissioner Dr. Mike Strain is in the house, but I want to check in with Avery as well. Man, we're more than a year overdue on a farm bill. Farmers have been having the roughest time over the last couple of years. Some help, some relief needs to be in order and or on the forefront. We'll talk with Avery about that at 8:15, and we'll wrap up with DC Current, presented by LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We're talking with Congressman Troy Carter at 8:35. Before we dive back into our next topic, I do want to remind you that we are live on Facebook every single day. And you know what? If you share today's Facebook page, we've got two more, so we'll give both of them away today. 2 more boxes of the Mannheim Steamroller hot chocolate. Mannheim Steamroller, y'all know them. The concert tour is actually coming through Louisiana this year. In fact, they're coming up Monday at the Hyman Center in Lafayette. Visit MannheimSteamroller.com if you want to get details and or purchase tickets to the show, MannheimSteamroller.com. They're a Christmas time staple, y'all, and they've added to that with the hot chocolate as well. So share today's Facebook Live over on Facebook, Talk 107.3's Facebook, and you are automatically entered. We're going to pull 2 names. You win the hot chocolate and tickets to go see Zoo Lights at Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo. It's a 4-pack of tickets to go see the Zoo Lights over at Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo, and all you have to do is share today's Facebook Live to get at that Mannheim Steamroller hot chocolate and the Zoo Lights as well. And don't forget, if you want tickets to Monday night's concert in Lafayette, MannheimSteamroller.com. Came across this story yesterday. We're continuing to see improvements on the educational front in Louisiana. Students in kindergarten through 3rd grade are upping their reading scores, thanks to a new focus on phonics-based literacy instruction. Dr. Jenna Chasson, the Deputy Superintendent at the State Department of Education, says those students improved their reading proficiency by more than 2 percentage points.
This is very exciting to see that we have more students entering into 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade who are prepared for that grade level in literacy.
So a number of factors contribute to the rise in reading proficiency among those children.
I absolutely think it is this statewide focus on reading and improving reading that we've had over the last few years. It's a focus on a method to teaching that's called the science of reading.
It's amazing what the level of focus can do, though, right? I mean, it feels so simple, and yet when we see it in action, it's playing out the way it should be. And that we're already netting results. Between the science of reading, the changing of approach in the classroom, the Steve Carter Literacy Program, which has expanded since then, add in that heavy dose tutoring, and we're starting to see some wins. By the way, speaking of tutoring, Dr. Chasson says tutoring has helped improve reading scores a good deal. Kids getting individualized instruction along the way. She says better reading scores at the early levels will set those kids up for success later in their education and, in effect, their whole lives.
We're just so hopeful about what's to come for our state, seeing this improvement, and the fact that we see it in each grade level and not just in one, I think really points to the fact that these improvement strategies in our classrooms that are underway are indeed working.
And we talked about this with Mary Beth Hughes from the LABI yesterday. The results are there. The proof is in the pudding. So, by the way, last year's kindergarten class improved their reading scores by more than 20 points as first graders. It's 6:30. Here's news. Thought so. Eh, We're blaming America for the fentanyl problem with dolphins. Is it more likely that we're flushing our pills down the toilets and that's ending up in the rivers and the rivers flow into the Gulf? Or is it more likely that, like, somewhere in Mexico there's a giant fentanyl factory that's just dumping? Like, the Gulf of Mexico, it has another side to it, right? And that other side has Mexico, hence the name Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to know how they know that the fentanyl that the dolphins are taking it was flushed down American toilets or improperly disposed of in America.
There can't be any solidified evidence on that.
No.
Can't be.
No.
Yeah.
Where are the drugs coming in from? Mexico. Maybe we want to look there for the fentanyl that gets in the water? And when it comes to movies, Fentanyl Dolphin isn't going to be nearly as entertaining as Cocaine Bear. So.
There's an idea, though.
What?
Fentanyl dolphin.
Fentanyl Dolphin?
We do have Sharknado.
6 Sharknadoes.
I've not seen one.
You're not missing anything.
I've seen the trailers. I'm like, okay, I've seen it. I tried watching a shark movie last night. Under Paris on Netflix.
Never heard of it.
It was just underwhelming. I don't know. Just too much CGI. I get it. Like,
It's a shark movie.
I know, but it's so obvious CGI. It's not like good CGI. It's like sci-fi CGI. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I just sent you the Mannheim Steamroller air check.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, we're covered for Thursday. Good deal.
Hello, good morning, sir. Looking to have you on here in just a few minutes. All right.
Last one for the year.
Last one for the year. Yeah. All right. We'll have you up here shortly.
Another hot one in store for us today. How long is this going to last? Well, here's Emma Kate Cowan. Oh. 637 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Quite possibly the biggest story of the year out of New Orleans this year, aside from Super Bowl prep, is that Troop NOLA is working and working overtime. Joining us now to talk about it is Jeff Crouere. Jeff, how are you, man?
Hey, good morning, Brian. Doing great.
Glad to have you on this morning. So overall violent crime, down by 40% year over year?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think Troop NOLA is a big reason. And I think, the governor should get a lot of credit. He really focused on it. I also think the new police chief has been a breath of fresh air and has gotten good reviews. And I think, those two things combined and maybe some just trends that have been going in that direction have helped. I mean, I think they've been able to grow the numbers of the force a little. They're still way down from where they need to be. Mm-hmm. So, it's very positive, and that's good news because obviously that's been the number one problem in New Orleans for decades. Still is, but it's great to see some relief.
No, absolutely. And a 40% dip is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you take a victory lap over a 20% drop. This is really, really remarkable. And yeah, you mentioned the governor forming Troop NOLA. When police departments around the country, city police departments around the country, are struggling to keep up their manpower, are struggling to recruit, adding Troop NOLA into this mix kind of, I don't want to say offsets it, but definitely makes it a lot more tolerable.
Right. And we can't ever forget the fact that we were the murder capital of the nation just 2 years ago. I mean, we had 265 homicides. And that's very good news for a city that depends on tourism, where we need people coming here for visits to, boost our economy. And you can't have, the label of murder capital and expect that to continue. So, yeah, the key is, to continue this because, we've had years in the past where we've had, real good crime numbers, then it spikes up the next year. So that's going to be the challenge. To make this consistent.
Yeah, how do you address that? How do you keep up the momentum and the consistency there? Because even when you have like a violent weekend, like I believe last weekend was violent down there, the same way it was violent up here. Even when you have a bad weekend that kind of skews the numbers and changes the averages for a little while, it's still like, is it that much harder to keep the message going that the numbers are trending in the right direction?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be multifaceted, Brian, and I think they're going to have to address the manpower shortage and, really start doing something about recruiting more for the NOPD. I mean, I think we're going to have to see a real effort to, make sure that criminals are not back out on the streets regularly. And we'll see if Amendment number 1 passing is going to have anything to do with that. We did interview people who believe that, one of the real problems in our crime situation in New Orleans has been the conduct of the judges. Yep. And wanting to really keep a closer eye on how the judges are handling the issue. So, those are going to be some different factors to look at. And then, I just think new leadership for the city is going to be helpful. Someone that's more hands-on on the crime issue. I mean, we've had a mayor who's been out to lunch for a long time and really hasn't cared about it and, been doing her own personal thing. So, you want hands-on, just like Baton Rouge elected someone who's going to make that a priority. That's what New Orleans needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking with Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics down in New Orleans. Jeff, keep it on that front before we pivot over to the building. Keep it on that front, though. Bringing the judges into the mix is, I feel like, a new weapon in the arsenal to fight crime. This is something that we haven't seen folks go after as hard in the past. And yet now we're starting to see that part of this equation is you talk to police officers, and they're going to tell you they're tired of arresting the same people over and over and over and over again. So somewhere along the way, when they make those arrests, they've got to stay behind bars, and if not have just better oversight over them until their trial date.
Exactly. Can you imagine how it is for these police officers? I mean, they're shorthanded already to be arresting the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the most frustrating thing in the world. these people are back out on the streets, and then you look at, what's the cause of this? And you have to point at least one finger at these judges. So, again, that they're elected by the people, so it's really ultimately up to the voters. And, the voters have been electing people like Mayor Cantrell and these judges and these other people that haven't served the people of New Orleans well. So you do have an opportunity with an election coming up where maybe, you'll see a change in how people vote, like we've seen in Shreveport and Baton Rouge. Maybe, you'll see a better result in New Orleans. But I don't know. People are going to have to spend more time and attention on these important criminal justice positions, and maybe we'll see that in some upcoming elections. I certainly hope and pray. But we do have a good result at the end of this year, even though the last few weeks have been sort of violent. Overall, the numbers are staggering and very, very good news. So we don't want to lose the overall picture of the 2024. It's been a very good year, and it really does coincide, Brian, with the beginning of the Landry administration.
Well, it shows you what happens when someone on a statewide level can give you some care and concern. In fact, I'll go ahead and make the correlation here. The same way that Jeff Landry decided, I'm going to show New Orleans some attention and some love, the state GOP said, I'm going to show Baton Rouge some attention and some love behind the Republican candidate in the mayor's race, and we saw how that played out. So, yeah, opening things up on a statewide level where the rest of the state says, hey, some of our bigger cities need a little help along the way, I think we're seeing now that it pays off.
Exactly. And, bold decisions, excellent results, and that's what happens. And surprising results, too, because, this is, at least for New Orleans, they have that kind of reduction is really astounding. So, we want to keep it going. We've got this major series of events coming up. So you've got, Sugar Bowl, you've got Super Bowl, you've got Mardi Gras coming in the span of, just a few weeks. So it's a real important time. There's road work going on everywhere and trying to spruce up and trying to deal with the homeless problem and the various other ways to, make sure that people come here have a good experience, and want to make sure buildings don't collapse on people and that sort of thing.
That's where we're going next, Jeff. How's things at the corner of Lafayette and O'Keefe?
Very dicey. It's a 156-year-old building.
Yep.
There was no indication that this was going to happen, and then it crumbled. So, can you imagine? Just you had the facade just sort of disintegrating and falling to the ground. That could have been devastating.
What do we know about it? Is it the building is just falling apart, or is it something more? Is it something greater to worry about? Perhaps that the land under the building is not stable.
They don't know. They really don't know. The owners don't know. The experts don't know. So they're going to have to figure out what it's going to be. They think they've stabilized it for now. So, but they're still going to have to block off sections of a busy area right there in the city. O'Keefe is right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're talking about very close to the Superdome. So it's just another, it's an old city. We're 306 years old. So there's a lot of areas that, where you've got problems like this and they don't know about. So this could be something that you see in other areas of New Orleans, Brian, at any time, really.
Yeah, and that's the concern.
Oh, by the way, one of our massive landmarks that used to be the tallest building in New Orleans has been crumbling. The Plaza Tower, big pieces of that have been falling off, and they put a net over the top of it, and now looks like they've got, finally the go-ahead to demolish that. So that was hopefully going to be condos and all kinds of other projects, and now it looks like it's just going to be demolished.
That's sad that one's going to come down. But that's the reason why I ask about the land underneath it, though, is because this building on Lafayette and O'Keefe is not that big, but it's surrounded by buildings that are bigger. So,
right.
The hope has got to be that it's the building itself and not something greater.
Exactly. because that's a crowded area, and there are lots of people that work in that area and live in that area.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, it's very concerning, and that's why you have the experts who are going to doing the testing and then seeing what it is. But hopefully, you'll not see more of those cases anytime soon. But it does happen periodically. I mean, you do hear about buildings collapsing every now and then. So this is not totally unusual.
And before we get you out of here, and I know you got a show to get to just a little more than 10 minutes from right now, what's the latest on the mayor? We haven't checked in on LaToya in quite some time. I'm sure the bribery charges have had to have some movement, huh?
She is, doing her own thing. She's not really dealing with the media. She's trying to do her own type of a broadcast with her communications team, and she's been totally unresponsive to the media, and really just been as unproductive as possible, and very infrequently do people hear from her.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she is checked out, literally, Brian, checked out. And I do think there's, just like on a national stage where we sort of have a leadership gap right now, the new president is being more of a president than the outgoing president.
Right.
And in New Orleans, we need someone to step forward. That's why, Helena Moreno has already jumped into the mayor's race. And, we see who else is going to be getting in the weeks ahead. I mean, we desperately need this race to start happening, people to start focusing on other people as mayor, because we have someone that obviously doesn't want to be mayor.
I mean, her clocking out is probably the best thing she's done as mayor.
Right. I mean, considering she hasn't exactly tackled the other problems very well, I guess we should be thankful.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Maybe there's a climate change conference she can go to over the next few months.
She just got back from an anti-Semitism conference. I saw that one on the schedule for sure. He is Jeff Crouere. You got a show to get to, man. We always appreciate the time. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll talk to you in 2025, sir.
Sounds great, Brian. Take care.
You too. It's coming up on 650 at Talk 107.3 FM. Time for us to check your money now. I want you to go pull that report, that story from Your Money Now. Yeah. And we're going to play it back in the 755 segment. I'm getting a bunch of texts that I'm still on the air. Yes, when she's talking about Plaquemines LNG. Oh. .655 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We got ABC News coming up about 4.5 minutes from right now. In our second hour, Anna Johnson from the West Baton Rouge Chamber going to hop on board. They got some big wins in 2024 right there on the other side of the river, and they're setting the table for 2025 to be even stronger. Got Anna at 7:15, 7:35. Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation going to join us. Similar conversation. How was 2024? How's 2025 looking? I'm looking forward to both of those conversations. Before we get there, though, we got more ground to cover right here. And before we get back into the news, need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, VEX, Vex European. You can check them out online at vexeuropean.com. If you drive a European vehicle, if you made that investment into a European vehicle, it is so worth your while to get to know Vinny and his team over at Vex European. When I talk about driving a European vehicle, you know the rundown: Mercedes, Jaguar, Porsche, Audi, Land Rover, Range Rover, BMW, or, I mean, if you really want to get into it, Bentley, Lamborghini, McLaren. I know I'm leaving the rails here, but they do that, though. And whatever your make of car, they've got a technician who specializes in that. Look, I drive a 16-year-old vehicle. It takes a little love and care to keep that thing at optimum performance, and that's exactly what they do. That's why I go to Vex European. You can call them at 800-4706. Of course, that's 225-800-4706, or stop off at vexeuropean.com. Same day or next day service for your basic maintenance. And, oh, by the way, check out the specials on their website. Save yourself $100 on your first visit very easily at Vex European. All right. You heard the story in news at the bottom of the hour that Nancy Landry, our state's Secretary of State, will be overseeing the Electoral College meeting today in the Senate chamber at the state capitol. Joel Watson with Nancy Landry's office says Landry will administer oaths of office to the 8 Republican electors before they cast their official votes for president and vice president.
Those electors were selected by the party earlier in the year, and when Louisiana decided to elect Donald Trump as president, those 8 electors were selected to give their votes at the meeting of the Electoral College.
This is one of those ones where it's, you know, they say you don't like to see the two things you don't like to see happen is politics and sausage being made. Well, this is one of those ones where it's not even that exciting. It's going to be very cut and dry. They have their marching orders. They go do what they got to do. Watson says these meetings take place across the country, and it just goes to make the president's presidency official.
When the electors meet across the country, this will be the official declaration that Donald Trump is president and J.D. Vance is vice president.
So you can visit the legislature's website if you want to watch the ceremony. They'll be live streaming it.
That's legis.la.gov. If they want to view the live stream of this event, it starts at 11:30 a.m., and the meeting of the electors themselves, when they cast their vote, will start at 12.
I'm not trying to downplay it because it is a necessary duty, and it is historical every time you have a new president. At the same time, though, it's not a spectator sport. There's no reason to get the popcorn going for this one. It's very, very cut and dry. Everything's already set, ready to roll. We get news coming your way in just a minute. Want to remind you, Talk 107.3 is heading back to our nation's capital. Speaking of the nation's capital, in fact, it's going to be Inauguration Week when we're there. We're celebrating Washington Mardi Gras. Join me and Gordy Rush making the trip with me Thursday, January 23rd, and Friday the 24th. We will be broadcasting live from the Washington Hilton for this show, Mornings with Brian Haldane, as well as a special afternoon drive show. We'll do that from 4 to 6 p.m. each day. This is handling business the way that only Louisiana can. It's Washington Mardi Gras on Talk 107.3 FM, presented by the Presley Group. Presley Wealth Management, excuse me. Presley Wealth Management. We got ABC News coming your way in just a little bit. After ABC News, it'll be time for top stories and trending. The homicide numbers in Baton Rouge. If we can hold out, if we can pitch a no-hitter for the remainder of the year, are actually going to be down from last year. We'll talk about that next. Right now, let's get you the news on Talk 107.3. All right. Any takers on Facebook? Hmm? Oh, crap. Coffee's not working today, man. It's not. It's not. It's not working. Settle down, Balin. He sounds like I feel. 7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are starting your second hour off at 64 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. You heard that weather forecast from Balin Rogers. Going to be dealing with some fog in the outlying areas to start off your morning. But like you said, that'll burn off about 2.5 hours from right now. We've got a busy hour this hour, checking in with the West Baton Rouge Chamber in our next segment. Anna Johnson going to join us. And then Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, the segment right after that. Also on the show today, how close are we to a farm bill and how desperately is it needed? Avery Davidson from the Louisiana Farm Bureau going to join us at 8:15. And Congressman Troy Carter, a little D.C. Current presented by LABI. That's coming your way at 8:35. Right now, though, we start your second hour with top stories and trending. No.
Number 5.
Are you ready for that new Mississippi River Bridge? Well, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. The location of the long-awaited new bridge is going to be put off until the third quarter of next year. Narrowing down from 3 locations to 1 is going to happen in late summer, early fall of 2025. Charles Lucier with The Advocate put this out there yesterday. He wrote the story on it, saying the latest estimate came during a meeting of the Capital Area Road and Bridge District. After that meeting, Joe Donahue, State Transportation Secretary, said, while the timeline has shifted since September for picking the location, that overall timeline from start to completion is it's still pretty much the same.
Number 4.
Nakamoto's back, y'all. Chris Nakamoto joining the news team over at WAFB, right across the street from us right here. He'll pick up with 9 News in January as chief investigative reporter and will also co-anchor the 5 p.m. news with anchor Tisha Powell. Nakamoto, of course, spent 2 decades as an investigative reporter with our news partners at WBRZ before leaving December of last year to go work for Investigate TV. He's still going to have a role in Investigate TV. It's going to incorporate in with his role at WAFB.
Number 3.
The Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles said yesterday their systems were down but have since been restored. No reason given for the outage except for outdated systems has been leaned on a lot. They were back up by about 1 p.m. If you missed an appointment because of it, hop on the OMV website to reschedule for appointments and services.
Number 2.
Today is December 17th, so we got right at 2 weeks to go in the year. As 2024 comes to a close, the number of homicides within the city limits of Baton Rouge is actually down from last year, though that number is dangerously close to changing. With just 2 weeks left to go, Baton Rouge police report 80 homicides. That is down from last year's 81. So basically, we're going to pitch a shutout for the next 2 weeks. The parish-wide number of homicides is at 106, up from last year's 102.
Number 1.
Speaking of homicides, deputies were investigating a fatal shooting that happened late Monday night off Perkins Road. East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, which suggests to me that it's outside the city limits, so we're still at that 80, said a witness called around 10 p.m. Monday, said they saw a man being approached as he was entering his apartment in Orleans Place condominiums and was shot. The shooter then fled. Deputies said 35-year-old Courtney Hart died on the scene from his injuries.
Unfortunately, the shootings just don't stop, Brian, because a student opened fire at a private Christian school Monday morning in Wisconsin, killing 2 people and injuring numerous others before apparently committing suicide.
So a 15-year-old student whose Facebook posts suggest neo-Nazi tendencies and feminist tendencies. And look, we can't sift through all of this in real time because that always leads to a bad path.
Yes.
We always get misinformation when we try to do this thing too quickly. So 2 people dead, 6 injured. Well, 2 people dead before she turned the gun on herself, allegedly.
Right.
6 others injured. And you were telling me last hour, who called 911?
A second grader.
A second grader.
I can't imagine.
The wherewithal of that second grader, huh?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more I read into this, it was just devastating just to realize that a second grader.
Yeah.
I mean,
also, so the shooter, the alleged shooter, had a 9mm. This is a different scenario than you see from time to time when it comes to the school shootings.
Yeah.
That's
and how she acquired it, all these things are still in question, right? I mean,
yep.
Oof. In other news, let's forget about the drones for a second. In a congressional hearing, ex-Pentagon official Lou Elizondo claims that the U.S. and some adversaries possess UFO technology and are keeping it secret.
I love this story. I love
Me
so
too.
much about this story.
Oh, man.
Congress is probing UFO reality. An ex-Pentagon official, not quoting Michael Jackson's His Story album, says, "You are not alone." No, it just says, "We are not alone." But Congress is probing the reality of UFOs. The reality of UFOs.
Yeah.
And not just something that's like, this isn't like when you see a drone and you're like, what's that? This is like, they're talking about legit aliens here.
Yes, the hearing that took place even a couple of weeks ago, I was paying attention to. I'm like, wait, this stuff is being said in real life, and everyone's just kind of glossing over it. We've gotten to a point now where it's like, there's aliens, and we're like, yeah, but anyway, on to the next story.
Yeah, but why is this not a bigger deal?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But like, why? Of all his cabinet appointments, Donald Trump neglected to name Mulder or Scully to anything.
Right, that's who we need right now. We need answers.
The truth is out there.
It is out there. I want to believe, Brian. I also want to believe in a white Christmas. I don't think we're going to see it because 18 states have a high chance at a white Christmas this year, even with even more states expecting their fair chance at holiday snow, according to a map shared by AccuWeather on Monday. Unfortunately, though, Louisiana is nowhere near one of them.
I mean, not even Shreveport, man.
One would think if I'm reporting on it, it's coming. No, it's not.
You might catch a little bit in Dallas, but then as you move east, it dissipates, like goes away.
Yeah,
we are firmly in the gray.
Should we expect anything less? Though?
As of right now, your Christmas Day high, cue up the Melikaliki Maka. You know, your Christmas Day high is 71 right now.
Yeah.
Oh
man. I know. It's so disheartening, so disappointing.
Give me 50. Can I get 50?
Just fit. Yeah.
I don't need a white Christmas.
Much, right?
I just don't want to sweat.
You just want a slight breeze.
I would just like to not sweat. That's all I'm asking. It's
celebrating Christmas in your flip-flops.
You know what I want for Christmas? To not run the AC.
Yeah.
That would be my Christmas present right there.
There we go.
Just to not have to pay Entergy on that day. All right, 712 at Talk 107.3 FM, and I'm told my next guest is in the parking lot. So let me go open the door real quick. We'll be back checking in on the West Baton Rouge Chamber with Anna Johnson next.
Merry Christmas from the Keys. Hello, good morning.
Kill microphones, please. 717 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So as we do around this time every year, it's time to take that retrospective and do a little foreshadowing as well. Joining us now from the West Baton Rouge Chamber, here to talk about the big dubs she picked up over the year would be Anna Johnson. Anna, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well as well. West Baton Rouge had a big year.
We always have big years.
Okay.
The West is the best.
Oh, goodness gracious. Are we starting here? Are we starting here already? We haven't even started yet.
But I feel like this is why you invite me on your show, because you know it's going to be live entertainment.
Yes, I know. It's exactly why I call. There's business to tend to as well, though. So, yes, a number of wins for West Baton Rouge in 2024. Let's run them down. What were some of the highlights?
Oh, gosh. Okay. West Baton Rouge Schools officially opened the Career Academy, so that's huge. West Baton Rouge Library opened our second location in Bruley down LA1. So State Representative Edmund Jordan was crucial in getting that project across the finish line because he secured some funding during session to make that happen. So we got our second library location. Mm-hmm. Cortec announced another expansion of their Port Allen facility.
Hang on. What's Cortec?
They're a manufacturing company, so they have a presence here, and they also have a footprint in St. James.
Okay.
So that's their main office, but they do a lot of manufacturing of parts of different things. So
basically serving everyone that's up and down the river.
Pretty much. Yeah. Air Liquide had their groundbreaking ceremony for their new location in Port Allen, so that was huge. Actually remember, and I was telling somebody this the other day, when I had first started with the chamber, Entergy had driven me over to the land where they were putting that location, and I remember kicking the rocks on the ground, and they were like, this is going to be a completely different place in a year, and now it's crazy to see the progress. But so we had that. Placid Refining applied for their first ITEP this year.
Really?
So that's neat. And then we had a whole host of other things for small businesses. We got a salad station. We have a Taco Bell on the way.
Now we're getting West Baton Rouge.
I know.
Now forget about the major industry and the new jobs coming in. We got us a salad station,
we
folks.
have a Taco Bell too coming, and I am pumped about it.
Oh no.
So I know you are just shaking your head. My diet habits are just that of a 12-year-old.
Well, and yeah, but like I'm the one that's gonna be at the salad station, and you're gonna be at Taco Bell, and anybody that's looking at the Facebook Live is saying that's backwards.
I know, it's so bad, but this is how I stay skinny. When people are like, how do you stay skinny? It's because my bones are deteriorating.
I can't imagine Taco Bell's helping that.
You know what?
You know what, though? No offense to Taco Bell. I've got sponsorship availability, so if they want in.
Right. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. Oh, gosh. Like, where else? I mean, in terms of, just movers and shakers in our community, our district attorney, Tony Clayton, is leading the crime task force for Jeff Landry. Mm-hmm. He was also just recently appointed the board chair of the board of directors for Southern University. So that's awesome. Acadian Ambulance just got re-accredited with whatever the highest accreditation is that you can have in ambulance services. They're one of our members. We also had a slew of members that were on LSU's Roaring 100 list this year.
Oh, that's cool.
I know Turner Industries is one, Grand Isle Shipyard, one of our insurance agencies, Brittany Weaver. Oh gosh, there were a couple of more, but yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of growth going on in West Baton Rouge, and then
which one of these projects do you want to talk about a little more in depth first? Can we start with Air Liquide?
Sure.
Okay. This is one that you were talking about kicking rocks in their yard a year ago,
yeah.
But we're talking about. I want to say this is 5 or 6 years in the making, is it not?
Yeah, it has been. Because, I mean, you've got to go through all those pre-studies, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
You've got to do all your ground and environmental studies, obviously location, incentives, and then economic impact. So, and then, of course, the community has to approve it, right? You got to go before the powers that be and see if this is something that the parish wants. So,
as far as the investment in the community is concerned, it was I'm looking at the numbers here, a $270 million expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Jobs wise, what does that equate to?
Ooh, jobs. I think, well, I don't want to tell you the wrong number because I know they moved some jobs from another location to this location. So I want to say they were hovering between 20 and 30 permanent jobs at this location. So that's still
doable,
huge just because the salaries are probably teetering closer to six figures. So,
well, and this is this particular story is one of success begetting success and good partnerships, because per the Advocate, the whole project was spurred by a contract to sell nitrogen and oxygen to Methanex's plant over in Geismar. What's that like working with? Because I mean, everything's so tightly knit on the other side, right? Like between y'all and Iberville, and it's 1 minute you're in one, the next minute you're in the other. So working those relationships is always important for your job.
It is. I mean, look, we're on that industrial corridor, so we have a lot of overlap. And so what works in one parish usually works in another. We're usually all kind of consistent in the decisions that we make, the partnerships, how we work together, communication. I will tell you, even with Air Products, they had their permit hearing, I think it was in September, and this was in Ascension Parish. And so I went and testified for them. So it's, we're helping spur projects in other parishes just because we know what the ROI is going to be to the community. So it's important for us to keep those relationships and help build other communities.
We're talking with Anna Johnson from the West Baton Rouge Chamber. Let's pivot over to the Placid Refining. What was the big announcement from them?
Well, so if you remember last year, Placid Refining announced that they were closing their headquarters in Dallas and moving it to Baton Rouge. And I hate to focus on the negative, but you never hear stories like this in Louisiana where companies are actually closing headquarters in other states and coming here. It's usually the reverse.
It is, yeah.
And so they, this was actually a shared project between us and EBR. So they're putting the actual admin office downtown Baton Rouge. So it's a couple streets over from here, actually. And then they're moving all of those corporate jobs to the capital region. And so that was kind of part of that expansion. But they're also expanding their operations too. And so this was a second leg of that project. And so anytime we hear that a company wants to expand their footprint and offer more jobs, we're like, yep, let's go, let's hit the gas. So
yeah, literally and figuratively, let's hit the gas. The move into, actually I believe it was Braff sold headquarters.
Yes,
which we're gonna have Chris Meyer up in our next segment.
I know.
So moving into Braff sold headquarters, and it puts them basically within a stone's throw of the refinery. So it just that level of centralization. How do you take that and show it to other companies and say, look, here's a decent blueprint that Placid has obviously found profitable or found worth investing in? How do you make that the sales pitch? Yeah,
so it's funny you say that. We've actually been meeting with LED over the last few months. And what's neat about this new structure at LED is they're having buy-in from the local EDOs and stakeholders about what we want to see. And so part of that is, how do we take these and make them case studies? And so there are so many little things in these communities that we don't highlight because it's easy to focus on the bad stuff. And so I think we're doing so much damage control that we're like, okay, let's stop doing that for a minute and let's talk about the companies that are actually making a change in Louisiana. And so we're taking stories like that and making them case studies so that when Susan goes to other states or we're trying to vet companies to come here, we can kind of drown out some of that noise about infrastructure or taxes or whatever nuances that Louisiana continues to battle and kind of highlight some of the good things that they're doing. And when you see a company that's successful like Placid Refining doing this, and we can say, look, they moved their headquarters from Dallas to here, and here's why. Here's the incentive package. Here's the salary for the jobs, things like that. So we're trying to focus more on the positive, I think, versus just trying to drown out the negative.
But we're finding that it's getting easier to do that, though, because when you get wins, I say it all the time, success begets success.
Yes.
So it's easy to turn a win into a winning streak.
Yeah.
Your job is a decent split between getting out and selling and then putting in hours over at the Capitol to make sure the environment is right to get out and sell.
Yes.
All right, so 2024 was an extraordinary year for you to be at the Capitol basically as a full-time employee over
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I said that. We sent out our State of the Parish yesterday, and I was like, we spend a lot of time at the Capitol, and it's because we have a special session every other month. So, yeah, feeling it this year.
But they've been worthwhile.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a special session that didn't net anything positive, minus the one on the congressional map. That was, I think we all could have,
No comment. But
Yeah,
we
I
are
understand.
getting, I talked about that a little bit too yesterday, because Garrett Graves has been our congressman and now we get Cleo Fields. And so, I remember when the switch happened and I was actually on the phone with Tony Clayton and he was like, hold on 1 second. And I was like, okay. And he puts me on hold and then he does a 3-way call to Cleo, because I'm telling him, like, Garrett and I worked on a lot of projects together and we have a lot of things still in the pipeline that we're trying to get through the finish line, and him being very crucial in infrastructure and securing a lot of dollars for some of these projects. I'm like, oh gosh, I start panicking. And so Tony was like, hold on, let me call Cleo. And so he gets Cleo on the call and he's like, Cleo, just tell Anna right now. Tell her what you're going to do for West Baton Rouge. And so he starts kind of like just hammering, and I've known Cleo for a long time, but the worry's still there that, we're going to get left behind. And then you always worry how the parish is going to be receptive to new leadership. So just working through those new things.
Well, I don't think Cleo's going to try and reinvent the wheel. I mean, he sees what's working.
Yeah, but it's, when you've been on a project for so long, and our old parish president can tell you this, like, it's not when you're working on a project, it doesn't happen overnight. You may start it 1 year and then 5 years later it's done.
Right.
So, just kind of working through those steps and making sure we don't get left behind. But I think Cleo's going to be great. So.
We got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
What's 2025 looking like? Where will the emphasis be in 2025?
Ooh, okay. So we've got a couple of big things in the pipeline, literally and figuratively. So when we sat down, this was last November, as a parish, it was time to redo our strategic plan. And so when we were meeting with the consultants and polling the parish and the residents and businesses, there were 2 themes that seemed to keep emerging. And one of those was, we don't have any kind of entertainment source here. So we don't have like a movie theater or a bowling alley or, pickleball or whatever, the cool trendy thing is. And then healthcare was the other big one. There's no central hospital on this side of the bridge. And so it's crazy when we do traffic studies for some of these projects that we're vetting. If somebody gets into a wreck down LA1 where my office is in Addis and they were in critical condition, they would have to be airlifted to a hospital in EBR, because unless you're driving between the hours of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., you're probably going to be sitting in traffic. And so it's just too unpredictable. And so there's always some kind of gridlock that is preventing people from getting to these places. And then also like specialty, like niches within healthcare. So we don't have any sort of things like that other than physical therapy, I believe, but don't quote me on that. So we've been having some talks with some healthcare providers, I shall say.
Okay.
And so I think you will probably see a big announcement in Q1 from West Baton Rouge about a new facility.
Yeah, oh, come on. All right. She is Anna Johnson with the West Baton Rouge Chamber. Thank you so much for the update. Thank you for the time. Always appreciate you stopping by.
Of course. Thanks.
Here comes news, traffic, weather. Talking with the Baton Rouge Area Foundation next. Awesome.
Got, am I muted?
You can kill the mic. 737, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, continuing the retrospectives. 2024 was productive on a number of fronts, and the Baton Rouge Area Foundation has been active throughout. Joining us now is Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm counting down, man. After Friday, I'm done. Like, I'm packing it in for the year. It's beautiful when Christmas falls on a Wednesday. It just makes it that much easier to take the whole, like, I'll see y'all on January 2nd.
I think everyone's sort of the same with this. Yeah.
I think that week in between Christmas and New Year's is going to be just straight up ghost town.
Well, unless you're in my world, which is about encouraging philanthropy and end of year giving, and so
you didn't stop on Giving Tuesday.
We did. We talked.
Well, I know we talked, but I figured you were done after that.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people who are making plans at the end of the year, looking at sort of their financial picture. They're feeling much more charitable given the season. So we love to be available to our existing donors, those in the community that are looking for ways to have impact. So we always encourage everyone to take a look at their community foundation. It's a great way to make an impact, to invest for the long term and giving back to the community. And this, Brian, will be another banner year for the foundation in terms of gifts, in terms of giving. We're celebrating our 60th year, so this is really the end of that. But the impact of this foundation in our community, nearly $800 million in giving over the last 60 years into the community. It's quite amazing.
I tell you what, I know we've got things to talk about,
Sure.
but I got to ask you about that because we're at a time and place where we went from a pandemic to a recession to ridiculous inflation. Meanwhile, there are more not-for-profits out there asking for more dollars and more different angles and more different, you can't turn your head without seeing something new. And I'm not disparaging any of them. There are so many people doing so many good things out there. With all of those options, with all of those demands, with all of those tugs coming at you, how does BRAF stay afloat?
Yeah, well, I mean, quite simply, the Community Foundation really empowers donors to choose how they want to give. So oftentimes we'll have donors at the end of the year that maybe they had a good financial year, they sold a business, they have a property that they're looking to donate. There's a way to do that into a donor-advised fund, which the donor really can then direct over time. They don't have to sort of give it away to nonprofits right away. They get the tax deduction immediately because they've given it to the Community Foundation. And now they get to think much more purposefully about the kind of impact they want to have. So what BRAF really tries to do is combine the sort of giving interest of donors with strategies that are really going to improve our community. That's our Center for Nonprofit Excellence, which works to sort of uplift, help nonprofits get on the same page about the kinds of activities we need to be about in our community if we're going to have a more fruitful, a more prosperous community. And that's really where we see our role as naming for the community and really doing deep research around the priority areas that are either holding us back the most or can give us the most opportunity for our future.
Holy crud, what a segue. Okay. No, because it brings us right around to some of the 2024 accomplishments. And I want to start with Safe BR and how this is just, it started with what? Looking to put in some cameras on businesses and has exploded from there.
That's right. I mean, we really noticed that the number one issue impacting everyone in our community is community safety. City stats, which will be released here soon to really capture the perceptions of people in the community, shows us once again this is the top issue of concern for residents in Baton Rouge. And so we wanted to take a deep dive this past year on what are the drivers behind our exceptionally high murder rate, our exceptionally high violent crime rate. And the reality is Baton Rouge, unfortunately, was not going in the same direction as many other cities right now in the country that have seen incredible 20, 30, 40% declines in violent crime. We were not seeing that. We, as you reported earlier, are at best flat from last year, which was basically the second highest murder rate in history in this community. So what are we going to do about it? The good news is we don't have to stand still. And Safe BR really was a coalition effort to look at, again, those drivers of violent crime, what we can do about it. We've looked at everything this past year from how we spend our public safety dollars, which we spend about 50% more than other communities that look like us on law enforcement and on public safety services, we're not necessarily getting the same outcomes. So that's something we wanted to look at. We also, as you mentioned, have invested heavily with partners in establishing more crime cameras around the community. But we also want to focus in 2025 on investment. We've been working with the district attorney, Hiller Moore, our East Baton Rouge Parish School System, to really do one of the largest studies on kids in schools that then ended up involved in violent crime over the last 15 years. Where did they go off track? What happened to them? And what new interventions can we put in place at those key points in their sort of early educational journeys where they began to slip off of that track to opportunity and unfortunately fell into violent crime?
Everyone's life, everyone's path is unique. How can you walk the path of saying we want to learn about overall trends while sticking with, because you gotta get inside somebody's head to know about the motivators, right?
Well, this is the power of sort of deep and long research, which we looked back over close to 20 years, over 140,000 records. Mm-hmm. You can see really clear patterns. The researchers that did this work, which are among the best in the country, oftentimes in big research projects, you're looking for that signal to sort of communicate to you where is there a point that you could intervene, you could invest differently. Unfortunately, we had so much signal. We saw as early as kindergarten when kids showed up not ready. Those were the same kids that ended up at third grade not being able to read on time. They then evolved into discipline challenges. By eighth grade, they're not meeting their sort of math targets. They're beginning to drop out. There are really clear signs, also the patterns of which schools they end up enrolling in. So if we're going to direct our limited resources at making a material impact, at really decreasing that homicide rate ultimately by at least 50% over the next several years, we've got to intervene in new ways. You can't just spread your resources like peanut butter. You've got to begin to focus on where have the patterns existed, mm-hmm. and how do you intervene with more proven nonprofit partnerships, more proven interventions. And that's really what the power of this data and this work is. It's bringing people together and having a common community playbook for impacting safety.
Captain Segway over here has walked us up to early childhood education, haven't you?
I'm just helping you out this morning.
Today,
I'm
Chris.
just helping you out.
You're on fire today. But no, this actually does walk us up to early childhood education, because a lot of this stuff leaves the rails before we notice it leaves the rails, and nobody becomes a killer overnight. You have to walk the entire path to get back to the beginning. And if you could start there, you've put them on a different path before the other side can even allure them.
No, that's right. And look, this is all about how do we build more successful and prosperous community members. And the reality is, as we again dug into the data through our Opportunity Data Project, we realized that Baton Rouge, unfortunately, was sending way too many kindergartners, way too many kids to kindergarten, to school, mm-hmm. wholly unprepared. Some of our best funded programs like Head Start, our study showed this year that 40% of the kids coming out of Head Start showed up being able to score an absolute 0, knowing nothing on their kindergarten readiness assessment. These kinds of trends, again, are things that other communities have taken on, have shown great promise, great impact. What I love about this is we kicked off early in the fall an early childhood education task force. It included the mayor, the superintendent of schools, Lamont Cole, included early education providers. It included the folks that run Head Start. And we've all dug into the data, but more importantly, what can we do about it? And what we all found is that nobody's in charge of early learning in our community. There are so many different funding streams, agencies, and so it really is a collective mess, for families, for providers, for those who may want to work in this field. So the good news is I think in early 25, this task force is wrapping up. We had our last meeting of the year yesterday, and I think we're going to come to a community-wide solution that really maximizes our resources, focuses on quality, makes it easier for families to enroll their children in the high-quality facilities, and we can get more kids showing up to kindergarten on time ready, which is going to impact positively so many other things that really make a community stronger.
How do we get them? I mean, this might be a conversation for early next year, but getting them there it's more than just identifying the problem. You have to have buy-in on multiple levels, and you have to have availability on multiple levels too. You have to have buy-in from the parents, and the parents have to be able to physically have them show up.
Yeah, I think parents are telling us they demand more options. So we see that we have wait lists on all of our state funded programs and whatnot. I think this actually boils down to leadership. Does the leader of our school system, Lamont Cole, does the next mayor president, do they really believe in a new model for coordinating and working together to ensure that every kid ends up in an excellent early learning slot? I think we have those leaders in place. I think both of those leaders are, and I've seen them working towards that. The existing mayor, Mayor Broom, has been working towards that, but I think we're going to see an acceleration of that early in the new year when we wrap up this task force. And this is a huge deal for the future of Baton Rouge, because finally we'll be spending our money more wisely, more coherently together, and we're going to be focused on outcomes.
As per Lamont Cole, did you see him at Rotary? Were you at the Rotary Club meeting?
I was not. I've seen.
I highly recommend going to find the video of it. The level of passion he gave for, I mean, it was like a 35-minute presentation, and the level of passion that he has for Baton Rouge schools, and Baton Rouge students. I mean, everybody in the room was enthralled. Everybody in the room was on their feet cheering at the end of it. So much so that you forgot he mentioned a principal got stabbed in the middle of the talk.
Yeah,
but it just goes to the power of when you have someone who gives a what you can get out of that. I've never felt more positive about where Baton Rouge schools can go than I do right now under Lamont Cole.
And it's not just the school. I wholly agree with you on Lamont Cole. I've worked with Lamont for more than a decade when he was a charter school leader, and I've seen that his belief is about kids and outcomes, not about systems and positions.
Right.
And I think you see that across the wave of leaders in this community, that it's not about BRAF or the chamber or the mayor's office or the school system. It's about what can we do together? What can we do differently to get change for our community?
Can I keep you for 5 more minutes?
Sure.
All right. Chris Meyer, head of the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, is with us because we haven't even talked about Plan BR3 yet. So,
buckle up.
Oh, yeah. We got Your Money Now coming your way in just a second. We'll take a break after that. We'll check traffic, and then we will continue our conversation next. We got Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation doing a little recap on 2024 and looking ahead to 2025. We will continue that next. It's 7:50 at Talk 107.3. Where's she at? Okay. I'm still going to use the thing from 650, but I'll use it going into the outside end. I had you pull the report from Your Money Now at 650.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it at 850.
Okay.
So this one is about school system letting go of being the lead agency, and the mayor's office letting go of Head Start, and allowing a new quarterback to manage all that money, which we just visited with Vermont, Denver, which does this. New Orleans sort of does this. Jefferson, I mean, we're not the first in the state, so. But you got to sometimes go to other communities because Louisiana's too close. This would do wonders because we won't send money back to the feds anymore. But then Lamont can just run centers. He doesn't have to worry about the administration, and because he's only thinking about the centers he runs.
Yeah.
So this will be game changing for us because you finally have one entity responsible, which is the same thing about this. I mean, I'm not going to step into the one law enforcement agency or not. But
Sorry, the guy I'm playing in fantasy football this week showed up on the, Andrew Mull. He's lobbyist for AARP. Handily whipping his ass. I already whipped because money's over. It's over? Yeah. Sorry, that just popped up.
yeah, no, it's all good.
So that's good for Lamont though, because that allows him to it lets Lamont be Lamont.
Yeah, focus on K-12.
Right.
And if you want to add early learning centers, do that, but develop them into your schools, not
But
as separate.
I want K-12 to know K-12, and I want to give them a product that's ready.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
It's completely, it's
So many of our problems. I mean, half our kids don't show up.
yeah.
How do you not know colors, letters, sounds?
Well, I've told you, I've volunteered through Rotary and a couple of other organizations where I go read.
Yeah.
This is the other one, yeah. I'm going to read at Ryan Elementary.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it just, the level of Well, the level of parental involvement is so sad. But where the kids are in, like, say, I would think I was reading the second graders versus where my kid was at the time in pre-K 4, and like the entire pre-K 4 class at Mercy was ahead of where the second grade class was at Ryan Elementary. Like it is so stark because as quickly as that happens, you can see the level of the kids start dialing out. They're not paying attention. They're not like because they don't want to anymore. Right. It's like, I don't know this. I can't do this. Well, yeah, you can. You need somebody to stay on you.
Right.
So, and English is just like any other language. The earlier you learn it, the better you're going to be at it. So, there's that.
Well, that's a community culture issue too that we've got to instill, and that's part of the issue. Is like there's no coordination or concerted effort. Everyone's kind of off. To your point of nonprofits, just like everyone's out doing any number of things. It's like no, we want to focus. Like we want to cut the murder rate in half. I'm looking for people that can do early intervention in childhood or to mentorship at middle school for a kid that's fragile.
Right.
And we're gonna have one strategy for that. We're gonna show, are you effective or are you not? So
I do have to do a live read on my way back in. So,
got it.
yep. The P.F. Chang's signed me for a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So
They're making a comeback.
huge. Their corporate office is finally investing in some advertising around town, and they chose me. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
That's cool.
So
The lettuce wraps.
it's a staple.
And then here we selected, or we had 3 finalists yesterday for the lead consultant for Plan BR3, which will kick off in January. So we interviewed them with public involvement. I can't announce who we. I know,
But the lead consultant is there.
is there. Yeah, we'll announce it early in January.
See, Plan BR3, and this is about music and entertainment.
What builds on that? Yeah, so it's basically the plan to connect the dots between the new arena, the Yellow River Center, and how do we place make and
Memorial.
and Memorial, and bring it all together.
Yeah.
With a 10-year kind of master plan plus a roadmap that the council will approve on, like this incentive for this lot, this investment in this place. The riverfront, actually creating a park or something dynamic. That's really what the lead consultants focus on. It's like, how do you activate that?
Well, and I had Whitney on the other day.
Mm-hmm.
She says residential's killing it. Residential in downtown is
We can't.
yeah. You think? She says we're at 90% capacity overall.
Density needs to be much higher. And
Wow.
This plan will get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Getting back with Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation in just a quick minute. I do need to ask you first, though, do you have your lunch plans yet? If you do not have your lunch plans in order, might I suggest P.F. Chang's? You know where to find them. They're in Town Center. Just look for that big old golden horse right outside. Easy to find. And, of course, they've got all the P.F. Chang's favorites, the P.F. Chang's staples. For my wife, she loves the lettuce wraps. And if I'm being honest, I love the lettuce wraps as well. But every time I get a look at that Mongolian beef, I start to head over that way a little bit. Also want to tell you about the Golden Feast, the all-new Golden Feast. It's a nod to Asian culinary tradition. Fried chicken and bubbles. Oh, by the way, want to know more about the bubbles? I'll let them tell you. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. But Asian-inspired flavors, whether you're talking about the boneless wings, the popcorn chicken, or the full-on fried chicken, you can get the flight of sauces as well. They bring out 4 different sauces from sweet soy all the way up through a spicy chili. The hot honey is ridiculous. Check out the Golden Feast. It's available right now at P.F. Chang's in Town Center. If you don't yet have your lunch plans, you do now. It's P.F. Chang's. All right, Chris, in our remaining moments here, we got about 2.5 minutes left. Music and entertainment study going on right now. Plan BR3 is on its way. What do we need to know? What can we know? Where are we headed?
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting part for 2025 because it really, I think, will put Baton Rouge on the map. A year ago, we walked in here and shared that unfortunately Baton Rouge was not punching at its weight class. We really were behind cities like Shreveport, my hometown, Monroe, Lake Charles, in terms of music, entertainment, visitors to conventions in our community. And so we saw really the opportunity, again, to the point about organizations and leaders working across the community to better all of us. We saw there was a real chance that if we collaborated with the new ideas at LSU for an arena, with repurposing the River Center, with the development of Memorial Park and a public-private partnership, all of these things could be done if we worked together. And so that really was what the study this year produced. It told us that we need one arena for the community. 2, we need to add a new headquarter hotel to our River Center and repurpose its arena floor as something that's much more of a mid-sized venue. Yep. And really then 3rd, we needed to activate the corridors in between. So you create more activity along the way so that it's not just people getting in their cars and going to one sort of location and leaving, but really that you want to stay and be excited and exist kind of around the space. And that's what Plan Baton Rouge 3 is all about. It's our next 10-year master plan for the downtown area, really leveraging these investments, which will be over $1 billion already, into placemaking, adding more residents downtown, more retail, more restaurants, more activity and entertainment, more family friendly.
Okay, so the next time we talk, that conversation's going to have to be, how do we avoid paralysis by analysis when it comes to Plan BR3? Because there's going to be a million good ideas, and we've seen in Baton Rouge's past that moving on any one of them, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
That's right.
We got to move.
And everything we've talked about this morning is our plans that are being put into action as we speak. Yep. So we're not just planning for plan's sake. We are activating, and you're about to hear major announcements on the music and entertainment front, which will lead to a more vibrant and thriving downtown.
He is Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. We always appreciate the time, sir. Here comes news. Yeah. Merry Christmas. I'll ID you on the way back in. Yep. I knew I was trying to squeeze too much into one. Okay. All right there. So, did you read Rolf's column?
I did.
He resurrected Audubon alive in his column.
Something on the river.
Yes.
Something on the river.
But it brought back all the horror of walking through that but that was close to 20 years ago. No, it was over 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was 14
it
or
was,
11.
I was still doing the show with Matt Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say the words Audubon alive without him saying Catfish Town. Public-private partnership was shat upon then.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeing other people do it and get ahead of us.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's time to get back in the ballgame.
Yeah, and I think the LSU's first domino, River Center then can formally announce that's doing the headquarter hotel. Then we can announce, whatever park design they're going to do on the river. And then I think all the rest of it fills in from there.
Okay.
It's going to be a big year.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun.
Thanks, man. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you.
What you say, Avery?
How are you?
Hey, Avery Davidson.
Yeah, Chris Meyer. Good to see you.
Good to see you. What's up, Brian?
You been all right?
Getting by as best I can, man. You know how that goes.
Yes.
Between boys, work.
How old are the boys?
9 and 12.
Okay.
So, but the 12-year-old thinks that he's 30.
Sounds right.
But has the...
Where are they at?
One's at Sherwood Middle Academic Magnet, 12-year-old, and then Logan's over at Shenandoah Elementary.
Okay.
So we, with extreme ADHD for the 12-year-old, private school wasn't working out that great.
Okay.
Yeah. It just, I'd love to say that they have the resources.
What school are they at?
So Luke started at a
Okay.
physical.
it on. 806 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We got a busy hour this hour. Avery Davidson from the Farm Bureau is in our next segment. Congressman Troy Carter, the segment after that, a little DC Current presented by LABI. We got a busy hour for you because none of that happens until we hit this day in history. All right, then, John.
All
Where are we starting
right.
off today?
Man, we take flight, Brian, in 1903.
Kitty Hawk.
Yeah, the Wright brothers make their first sustained motorized aircraft flight, piloted by Orville Wright, North Carolina. Yeah,
Yep.
Kitty Hawk.
120 feet they went.
Yeah,
120 feet was that
it's
first
impressive
flight. Yep.
considering, you know.
Yeah, and somehow they had to change planes in Atlanta.
Oof. Ouch. 1986, American Mafia
Just
hitman.
let that one sit there, man. Just let it sit there. It sounded great in my head.
We just
All
let
right.
it resonate
Fine,
sometimes.
fine.
Just let it resonate. American Mafia hitman Richard Kuklinski is arrested at a roadblock. You know of this guy? American Mafia hitman, 1986.
1986.
Yeah.
Richard what?
Kuklinski?
Kuklinski?
Kuklinski.
With a K?
Kuklinski.
With a K?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Oh,
I have to
okay.
look this one up.
Yeah. So while he's looking it up here,
Oh.
yeah,
All right, good.
fascinating, right? 1989, The Simpsons premieres.
The Iceman. Okay, Richard Kuklinski was the Iceman. He claims to have been the real assassin of JFK. Claims to. But nobody else buys it.
Mm.
Like, of all the conspiracy theories out there, nobody buys it. Okay, the Iceman. Now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And as I said, 1989, The Simpsons premiered.
Yep.
Let's see, 2018.
Hang on now. They didn't just premiere, okay? It was part of the Tracy Ullman show originally, and then they had their Christmas special. The Christmas special was the premiere.
See? I didn't
So,
know that.
yeah, no, I know. That's where they got Santa's Little Helper.
Yeah.
Santa's Little Helper was, Homer was, goodness gracious, I got to do this off memory. Homer had basically botched every attempt to buy them Christmas presents, and like in a last-ditch effort to win some money to go out and afford Christmas presents, he put all of his money on a dog at the dog track. That dog was named Santa's Little Helper. The dog finished dead last, so the owner of the dog kicked the dog out, so the dog became the Christmas present. Boom!
Like that. All by memory. Just insane.
Yeah, no, like physics doesn't exist in my head.
Yeah.
I don't
Pop
remember
culture?
anything. Chemistry,
Pop
don't know it.
culture references,
Yep,
though?
yep.
The first episode of The Simpsons, Brian's got it.
Yep.
Oh, man. 2018 here, Malaysia files criminal charges against U.S. bank Goldman Sachs for its role in the One Malaysia Development BHD scandal.
Okay.
That same year, this is amazing. 2018, a U.S. poacher sentenced to watch the film Bambi repeatedly during his year in prison for killing hundreds of deer in Missouri. I love history. Just
That's fantastic.
as we look, yeah,
I love that one.
you poacher, you're gonna watch Bambi for a year. Oh man,
Just like on a loop?
yeah, I guess so, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's insane. The fact that this made the list of all these historical events today.
Yeah.
Oh man, keeping in entertainment. Let's see, 2003, The Return of the King, the third Lord of the Rings film is released, makes $72 million its opening weekend. The second film to gross over $1 billion worldwide at the time. Now,
Moving over to
more.
sports, this day in 1933,
Yep.
the Chicago Bears win the first NFL championship, 23-21 victory over the New York Giants.
Wow.
Yeah, they both sucked this year, so that they saw better times.
Oh, what was that? 33?
33.
Wow.
And by the way, on this day in 2014, the United States and Cuba reestablished diplomatic relations that had been suspended for more than 50 years. That happened today.
Impressive.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Birthdays here. Let's see. I got fighter Manny Pacquiao today.
He led with Manny Pacquiao. Okay. All right. I see where you're at.
What?
No. Keep going.
He's at the
Yeah. there's
Pope
some-
Francis today as
There
well. The list here is like Manny Pacquiao,
Filipino
Supersedes-
boxer, Pope.
I mean,
Filipino boxer.
I'm just saying he's
Pope.
on this list. He's up there.
Yep.
Sarah Paulson. Oh man.
Oh
Who
man,
else
Sarah
do we
Paul.
have?
I've been rewatching Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
She was so good in that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Yeah. Who else? Who else you got over there?
Oh, we got a couple more birthdays for today. Let's see. I've got
actor Eugene Levy as well.
Eugene Levy's on my list here for sure. And in the world of sports, we've got former NBC sports reporter Michelle Tafoya. You had Manny Pacquiao and former Saints tackle James Hurst, born on this day in 1991.
All right. Let's see here. Moving on to deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Penny Marshall here.
Oh, my.
I have her. I have also. Do we even count this? I mean, do we even care?
Yes, you do.
Kim Jong
Il. Yeah.
Il? Yeah. See, I didn't know you were with me. See,
No, he's he led North Korea for a good chunk. So
Yeah.
he died on this day in 2011. I got a great Kim Jong Il story, but I can't name the guy who's in the story. But I used to work with this guy who he was on a different station, and he was reading about Kim Jong Il.
Yeah.
This was before his death, obviously. But he kept referring, because when you have a capital I and a lowercase L, he kept calling him Kim Jong 2. Kim Jong 2. And I was a producer at the time, so I would hit the little talkback button to talk into his ear. And every time he would say Kim Jong 2, I would say ill. And he would say, "I'm sorry, he's not feeling well."
Oh, that's funny. That is.
Simone Bolivar also died on this day in 1830. You mentioned Penny Marshall right there. And I had a couple more, but they're all from World of Sports as well. We had died on this day in 2003, former NFL quarterback Otto Graham. Also died on this day in 2008, Sammy Baugh, another football player. Then in 2019, famous football coach Hayden Fry died on this day in 2019.
All right. National days here, of course. Wright Brothers Day.
Yep.
And National Device Appreciation Day.
Okay.
Couldn't do it without it, right?
Yeah. All
Any of
right.
these devices.
We are at 8:13 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, we're talking with Avery Davidson from the Farm Bureau next. Oh.
About.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the picture was phones and laptops.
Okay.
And things, so, yeah, that's where.
I mean, it
Yeah.
could be the one that's in the bottom drawer,
Not that
The
device.
kids are already in school. It's fine.
Not that device.
What?
Manny Pacquiao,
The Pope.
the Pope.
Bro, which one?
I
I
almost chimed in saying which one helped out the band Journey more.
Hold on.
That-
what? Let me go.
That'd be
back
Manny
to this thing.
Pacquiao.
Yeah, it would.
Helped him out with their singer.
I exit out of the thing. Where did famous birthday?
Priorities, man. Getting closer to God or don't stop believing.
Same.
It's, I mean,
Oh, also, I forgot Chris Matthews.
Chris Matthews.
Yeah, from Hardball.
Oh, yeah. MSNBC.
Yeah.
You can forget about him. I think most people have.
Yeah. I hate when this happens.
What?
So sorry, Brian. Just got word the congressman is stuck in a budget meeting and can't make it to the show. Yeah. All right. No worries. Got plenty.
You need me to BS more?
Oh shit! You texted right before you got in here. Sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't even see it.
I called the 2 phone numbers on the door.
So the lobby doesn't open till 8.
Right.
Texting me is the right answer.
Okay.
And normally I'm all over it.
No, that's
So-
okay. Someone else saw me standing out there like a poor little puppy. Opened the door. I made like I knew where I was going. I did know where I was going, but
Yeah.
But yeah, if you need me to bullshit for another
You know what? Yeah, let's
30
do that.
minutes.
Let's do that.
I'm fine to do that because we can talk everything about. We can talk about the trip to Cuba if you want to.
Let's start with the trip to Cuba.
You want to start there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it's coming out of the segment. So
Yeah. And that way, we still kind of have a DC current by talking about the continuing resolution and help with. So you can still brand it as DC current.
So where were we going the other night? I can't remember where my wife and I were headed, but we were up Corporate Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're passing Farmers, she's like, "God, I love that building." The building came out great.
It did, yeah. Grace Haber Curtis did a great job on it. I mean, you need to come and see the inside too.
I do.
We got our TV studio and everything, and we built a podcast studio. That's gonna be Don Molino on 8:00 in the morning every day.
Oh.
We catch up and say, okay, who's doing what radio reports today? Because I'll be doing that after I get back to the office.
We'll tell Donna said hello.
I will.
So yeah, when she pointed out your building, I'm like, yeah, I owe Avery a phone call.
That's how you were reminded. It's a neat place, man.
But just the look of it itself is unique to that area.
Yeah.
You know. 818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're still at 66 and foggy in downtown Baton Rouge. We got Avery Davidson in studio. I'm going to get to him in 60 seconds. Got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. I checked in yesterday to make sure it's not too late. Catering orders are still available. So if you're in charge of food for your family holiday, for your family Christmas, hit up Mathern's. In fact, download the Mathern's app if you don't mind, because it's so simple. Everything's at the touch of a finger right there. If you download the Mathern's Rewards app, catering and meals are right there. From there, you could choose between 53 different party trays, cold trays, hot trays, sandwich trays, boudin balls, egg rolls, fried fish, chicken fingers. I could go on and on. Well, actually, I couldn't because they got 53 of them, and the spot's only 60 seconds long. It's at the touch. It's at your fingertips on the app. And, oh, by the way, you're earning cash towards more groceries every time you use the app and shop at Mathern's. It's also available at Mathern's.com, or if you want to swing by, they are in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. It's Mathern's. All right, Avery Davidson from the Farm Bureau is with us. How are you, sir?
I am well. It's good to be here again with you, Brian.
Good to have you on. Been too long, man.
Yeah, it's all well. I feel like I keep up via Facebook and like on the air with you, and so it doesn't feel that distant. However, I realize that I'm not posting as much to Facebook. I'm not as social.
I let my wife handle all the personal stuff like that, the pictures of the kids. And all
yeah.
that. She handles like 90% of that.
See, I handle some of that, but normally it's at my wife's urging. She's like, well, are you going to make a post because you have more friends on Facebook than I do, so
if
you get more interaction?
Post, send me the picture and I'll post. I hear that one a lot.
Yeah, well, no, she says, I'll send you the pictures that we posted on your page because when I tag you, we don't get as much engagement. So I need you to post it and tag me, and we get more engagement for some reason. So, but she doesn't know that what I do is everyone who hits like gets $5 in the mail from me.
Okay.
That may or may not be true.
Pulling up your Facebook as we speak. No. But we got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I tell you what, before we get into, we got to talk about the Farm Bill.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the farm country.
There's a lot of backstory leading up to it as well. But before we get to that, in our This Day in History segment, today's the anniversary of reopening, I don't want to say reopening Cuba, but opening up talks with Cuba. You just got back from there. Yeah,
we just got back on Thursday of last week. Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, organized this trip. On it were also Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot, LSU Vice President of Agriculture, Dr. Matt Lee, who also heads up the LSU Ag Center. And there were a number of legislators, so Stuart Cathy, chair of the Senate Ag Committee, Troy Romero, chair of the House Ag Committee, were both on this trip as well. And the goal was really to try and establish some more relations whenever it comes to buying and selling rice.
Okay.
So rice is one of the biggest commodities for the Cuban people. They consume more rice per capita than any other country in the world. The problem is their agricultural sector is in decline, seriously. So between 2017 and 2024, their rice industry dropped by 53%. So at their top producing year, they were making 300,000 metric tons of rice per year. Last year, they only made 140,000 metric tons of rice. So a lot of their rice comes from Vietnam because of the trade issues in dealing with the United States.
Okay.
So you mentioned about things opened up on this day back in 2014. Well, they closed again shortly after 2020.
Okay.
Or I should say 2016 and going into 2017. And then at the end of President Donald Trump's first term in office, he relisted Cuba as being one of the states that sponsor terrorism. So that limits what the Cuban government can do when it comes to banking and finances and that sort of thing. So while things were opening up a little bit more between the U.S., they closed down quickly. And then under the Biden administration, nothing changed. So it all stayed the same.
Wow. We've spent 4 years with it just being stagnant like that.
Yes. And where you can really tell is on the ground in Cuba. I went 2 times to Cuba in 2016, once with Congressman Ralph Abraham and Congressman Rick Crawford, and then again with Commissioner Mike Strain. And from that trip to this trip, you really see a decline in the number of people in Cuba. The population dropped from 11 million to 9.2 million over that time. That's out-migration. We were told by government officials there that last year there were only 80,000 births in Cuba, primarily to teenage mothers. So what's happening is you have all the people who could actually be entrepreneurial, who could do the work, leaving the country. And it's
going where?
Anywhere. Some are coming here to the United States. Some are going to Brazil. Some are going to Belize. It all depends on where they have family and the like. But it's really a sad situation there. And listen, what we talk about the embargo concerning Cuba, but we also have to remember that there is a regime there in power that lives a very different life from most of the citizens.
Right.
So while we were there, we visited with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. That's the equivalent to the Secretary of State for the United States.
Gotcha.
This place was absolutely palatial. It was gorgeous. Swimming pool in the backyard, just everything pristine. Whereas where we were staying at the Grand Aston Hotel La Habana, and right across the street was government housing that looked like it hadn't been painted since the 1930s. Dr. Matt Lee posted an article on his Facebook page the other day about how that place is considered a prison for the people who live there. It's really in such deplorable condition. So you really get to see the disparity between the haves and the have-nots while you're there. I'm talking too much. I'll go ahead and
No. This is what the segment's all about, though, because it's going to walk us around to. We talked with Dr. Strain. He'll be on Thursday, 8:15. We talked with Dr. Strain about how it's incumbent upon farmers, and specifically with Louisiana farmers, because we got a lot of them who do things really, really well here. And then when you talk about the research that goes into the agribusiness, we feed the world.
Yeah, we really do.
And this is one segment where more and more they are dependent upon us for so many different things, and we can fit that bill. We can fill that demand. So if nothing has changed over the last 4 years and Donald Trump was the one to put them on the list, is there any likelihood that they'll fall off that list or get reclassified with a new Trump administration?
I don't know. I would say look to who he has selected as his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. So I would say that is not a likely scenario, although Commissioner Strain will come in here and tell you and say, Rubio could be the one who changes the tune on it. And that's definitely a possibility. But, the reality is the only way in which we're doing any business with Cuba right now is on a cash basis. It is usually with private citizens who are there because there is some private enterprise that's allowed to exist. The state has some hand in it at some point, but usually in what it takes taxes-wise. But that said, there's a significant amount of rice, significant amount of poultry, both going to Cuba from Louisiana.
Well, okay, and when you look at that and you say, Vietnam is their largest supplier of rice, that's literally halfway around the world. We're right here.
Yeah, it's the difference between 72 days of the rice getting there and 72 hours. Because if you come out of the port of Lake Charles.
Days.
Yeah. So think of the shipping costs that would be cheaper coming out of Louisiana. And at one time, a majority of the rice we grew here in Louisiana was shipped to Cuba before the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge trade partner for Louisiana. And there's now a new partnership that is going on while we were in Cuba. Commissioner Strain and Dr. Lee signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Agriculture in Cuba to help work with them on rice research. Primarily, this is going to be in management and practices because a lot of the genetics are proprietary here. It may have been developed by the Rice Research Station in Crouere, but that was done so with Rice Research Board funds, the rice checkoff.
Yeah.
So farmers funding it. So the technology there won't be shared, but what will be shared are the best management practices to help them improve their crops.
We've got Avery Davidson from the Farm Bureau of Louisiana with us. The original intent of this interview is to talk about the Farm Bill. And actually, can we start by kind of rewinding the clock to kind of set the scene of where farmers are at right now? Because that's going to lead up to why any kind of movement is going to be crucial.
Well, to set the scene, we are still we're no longer operating under a farm bill.
Right.
The farm bill extension expired on September 30th, and that was an extension of the 2018 farm bill. So there are reference prices in that date back to 2012. Now tell me, what are you buying right now that's the same cost as it was in 2012?
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. So that's the situation our farmers are in. That said, commodity prices were not bad in 2012 and 2018.
Okay.
They're bad now.
Yeah.
So the LSU Ag Center, Dr. Michael DiLiberto, did a white paper looking at what an average farm in, say, Tensaw Parish would be experiencing right now. That average farm that may grow corn, soybeans, and cotton would see an almost doubling to tripling of its input costs, meaning what they pay for feed, seed, fertilizer, all the inputs that go into the ground to make a crop, but see the commodity price drop by about 25%. So they're seeing losses, possibly for the third year in a row, of upwards of $500,000.
Wow.
So you're
let's talk about margins real quick too, because it's not like they were operating on significant margins to begin with.
Right, and now you're looking at a negative margin in some cases, and so
but that negative margin is just hedging to make sure it's not a more negative hit.
Right, and they're at the point where if the farm bill has officially expired, so there is no protection there. There's no price protection, and I can understand where some listeners will say, "Well, I don't have protections in my job." I would make the argument you have your job because you don't have to spend all your time going out and grow your food. The only reason why I can be a communications director for Louisiana Farm Bureau is because I'm not trying to grow anything to eat in my backyard, which I'd have to be tending to all the time.
Right.
So we're in a position now where getting a new farm bill isn't enough. We now need supplemental economic assistance, and it needs to be passed this week as part of this continuing resolution.
That's where we're going to push pause. Avery's going to stick around with us. We're going to check news, traffic, and weather, and then where are we at with the Farm Bill, the next installment, and where does it need to pick up beyond that? We will continue next. Here's news.
Sorry. I need to pay attention to your time cues. Sorry, John.
You don't have to.
No, Avery's the pro. He's been in the biz.
Man, my first job out of high school was at KANE in New Iberia. So, did that. Love radio. Still think it's the best darn thing when it comes to spontaneity and getting information out quickly. All right, let's see.
Brian kind of reels it in.
Yeah, well, I try to follow his lead. I can kind of see in his eyes. We got to wrap. The bad thing is
30 seconds. Here's the next 3 minutes.
Speaking of Congressman Carter,
oh, yeah.
if I've got 3 minutes left, I tell him we have 30 seconds left, and he still goes over.
Really?
It's like, you're a human filibuster.
Oh my god. See, I thought I was bad because I was like, oh man, I'm not shutting up about Cuba. I'm just talking. And
No. And I know where it's headed. And by the way, 3 hours a day I got to talk.
I know.
It's
you like a break. Oh man. Okay. Hearing Sean on LRN.
Oh, I know, right? And Colleen.
Colleen's back over there?
Colleen Crane's over there.
Oh man, I keep waiting to hear what Inkster's going to do with that next, but because we're partners with them on the Ag Network.
Keep yourself a salary and your health care and all that good stuff. Say, Jeff, here's the keys, man.
Yep.
Bring me into this millennium.
Yep. Because
Checking the Doppler window. We're not quite done with the fog in downtown Baton Rouge. It's lifting up a little bit. Should be burned off within the next hour. That's on our way to a high of 78 degrees today. Overnight low tonight gets down to 57. We'll top out at 76 tomorrow. Look for that fog to roll back through in the overnight hours tomorrow into tomorrow morning. Wednesday night's low gets down to 51, or I should say Thursday morning. Get down to 51. Now, Thursday's where it starts to cool off a little bit. Your high on Thursday, 64. Your high on Friday, 66. Your high on Saturday, 56 degrees, and then down into the 30s Saturday night and Sunday night. Looking all the way ahead to Christmas Day, it looks like it's going to warm back up again, a high of potentially 72 for Santa Claus to change into shorts. Right now, we do still have some fog. It's 65. Let me do an intro to give Lobby their shout out because they sponsored. So, and then that way it gives him a clean, when we post it online, there'll be one segment. 838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Now, generally, this is the time when we would bring you DC Current presented by LABI. We catch up with Congressman Troy Carter pretty much every Tuesday. Sometimes, I don't know, things like budget meetings on the Hill get in the way, whatever. That happened today. We'll catch up with Congressman Garrett Graves tomorrow, bringing you DC Current presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. LABI is your state's Chamber of Commerce. You can learn a lot more about what they do at labi.org. Fortunately for us, though, we got plenty to talk about what's going on the Hill. We got Avery Davidson from the Farm Bureau of Louisiana with us. All right, Avery, let's dive back into the conversation. As we were walking up to the news break. And by the way, thank you for sticking around.
Oh, my pleasure.
We can't talk about this story enough. Like, I know 2 days from now I'm going to have Dr. Strain on, and we're going to continue the conversation because agribusiness in Louisiana, and as Dr. Strain has indoctrinated me, is that we do feed the world. This means a big deal. And we in Louisiana do it better than anybody else. Whether you talk about rice, whether you talk about sweet potatoes, whether you talk about whatever it is going on, LSU specifically, but Louisiana as a whole, we have a lot that we can brag on. So when it comes to something like the Farm Bill, which feels like a national story, it's really a local story.
Every story is a local story, especially when it comes to agriculture, because when you think about the small communities around our state, Wisner, you think about Zwali, they are dependent on the farmers and ranchers in those areas to bring the dollars in and to start that economic engine going.
Right.
And so when we talk about supplemental assistance for farmers, we're talking about saving rural America is really what we're talking about, because we're now at a point where we don't have a farm bill. We have farmers and ranchers who've been carrying debt for 3 years. So they weren't able to pay off all their loans, so they work with their banker. The banker says, we'll carry it over because you still might pencil out this year. Well, you still might pencil out this year. Well, next year, they're not penciling out. And we actually have some farmers who are being told by their bankers, we can't loan you money next year. We cannot give you a crop loan. So don't plan on planting a crop in 2025. And that's the point where we're going to start seeing farms go under. We've lost 141,000 farms across this country in the last 14 years.
Repeat that number.
So across the country, 141,000 farms have gone down over the last 14 years. That's according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. And we're seeing a significant, we're looking at a situation like you remember in the 80s, whenever we had the Farm Aid concerts and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're at that point again. And we're at a tipping point where Congress, if they keep some kind of supplemental assistance in this continuing resolution, if they put it in there, I should say, then they could be the heroes to all of rural America. Because right now, both the Louisiana Farm Bureau and the American Farm Bureau have taken the position of we want Congress to vote against any continuing resolution that ignores the needs of farmers and ranchers, that does not have supplemental assistance in there, that does not have some way to where they can get those crop loans that they desperately need to be able to continue farming. Because I enjoy eating, and to me, that's probably the most secure thing that we have in this country is the fact that we know we can go to the grocery store and get food anytime we want. You start to lose the farmers. You start to lose that becomes a national security issue When you can't feed your people, watch them revolt.
Oh, look, if we talk about how often do we talk about energy independence and the importance of energy independence?
That's right.
This is tenfold. This tenfold more important to be. It's one thing to be able to drive yourself to work. It's another thing to be able to feed yourself.
And this rolls into energy as well because we produce ethanol with corn.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's part of what goes into our fuel system as well. So if you think, well, does agriculture really touch my life? Oh, it touches your life 3 times a day each time you have a meal. If you're wearing cotton, like I've got my blue jeans on today, a cotton shirt, that's impacting my life as well. That's agriculture. If you live a house that has any wood in it, agricultural product. So all of that is why every single person needs to care. Now, on our website, lafarmbureau.org, you'll see a banner at the top saying we need a farm bill now. If you click that, you go to a page that will allow you to immediately send a message to every member of your congressional delegation. So your 2 senators and your congressman, you just fill in the information and it'll know who to send it to. Doing that, we've sent more than 3,000 messages from Louisiana to our delegation, telling them the importance of having a farm bill passed, but also more importantly now, passing a farm bill today does not save our farms because Congress has failed to pass a farm bill over the 2 years it had to draft it. So now we need immediate supplemental assistance to keep these farms afloat, and we need a new farm bill once the 119th Congress comes in.
Working on the farm bill itself, and we'll talk about supplemental assistance in a minute, but on the farm bill itself, what are the hang-ups here? Because I feel like there is no representative, there is no senator who doesn't have this hit home in some way, shape, or form. So what would be the holdups to getting a new farm bill?
In the past, traditionally, the farm bill has not been a political football. And in this Congress, it has been. And so you have the Republicans who want to see some changes in the SNAP program, have some work requirements for SNAP, because while, yes, it is called the Farm Bill, it should be called the Farm and Food Bill, because about 78% of it of the funding goes to nutrition programs. Okay. Only a very small portion actually goes to agricultural programs.
Yeah.
The other hang up is that you have some who on the Democratic side who want to use some of the funding for what's considered climate smart agriculture. Now, a lot of those are practices that farmers and ranchers are already doing, but it's how the money gets funneled, where it gets funneled, and those sorts of things. So those are the 2 places where we're seeing some politicizing of it.
That climate smart piece of this, and yeah, you enter the word climate, politics is going to follow, right? Although I know over at our sister station 104.5, Supreme Rice sponsors Live at Lunch, and I hear Hannegriff say it all the time. They're using the climate smart program there.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a way to, because when we talk about the farm bill, we're not talking about one bill. It's a
no, it is.
It's not a package of bills that's combined. Okay,
it is one bill. So and now in the House they have tried to split the nutrition and the farm programs before. But
that's what I want to ask. How can these things be separated to where you can move the politics over to the one side and still let the farmers be farmers?
You run into the problem of you have urban representatives who have no ties directly to agriculture, so why would they vote for the bill?
Gotcha. Yeah,
so you need the nutrition programs to get the urban representatives to go with the rural representatives, and vice versa. So it's always been the great place where everyone comes together, and just has not been the case for the last 2 years.
You would think this would be the one area where everything could be dropped and we could break bread together. But we can't even make the bread.
Exactly. We can't grow the wheat right now. We're not getting the crop loans to grow the wheat. But I
did not set that up, by the way.
But we're not at that dire a point. But my gosh, this is the worst I've seen the farm economy since I went to Farm Bureau in 2008. So we're going on 17 years. And between the drought last year, the hurricanes before that, the low commodity prices, the high inputs, inflation. We're just at the point where a lot of our folks just can't take any more.
Step out. Yeah.
You know, when you're already more than $1 million in debt, and you're told that you're still going to have a loss, and I can't lend you. Not only are you $1 million in debt, I can't lend you more money for you to do this
to
another
dig
year.
yourself out of it. 100%. Supplemental assistance. Let's talk about numbers right there. Just give us a rough estimate, amount-wise. How much would it take to keep everyone afloat?
Oh, you're talking about probably about $20 billion.
$20 billion. Wow.
Across the country. Now, there are two different plans, again, put forward by the two respective parties. One, as presented by the Democrats, would actually take an allocation. It would have to say we need to go to approps and get this money approved to be able to go through it. The one that the Republicans have put forward, and it's the one that was initially mentioned in the Farm Act, which Congresswoman Julia Letlow had co-sponsored along with Congressman Trent Kelly in Mississippi, and Congressman Clay Higgins was signed on as a co-sponsor of that as well. That would take currently existing CCC money, so that's the Commodity Credit Corporation, money that is already there, already appropriated, already set aside, and it would mandate that within 90 days that money be dispersed to farmers and ranchers across the country. Okay. That's the one that Louisiana Farm Bureau supports, not only, but mostly because of the immediacy of it. You know, if you pass a farm bill today, it's going to be more than a year before anyone sees anything from that.
No, 100%. That's, yeah.
They need something now.
Right.
Or else they don't get the crop loans. And if they don't get the crop loans, they don't plant a crop. If they don't plant a crop, then
nobody gets fed.
Well, and the economic engine of rural America starts to go away. I mean, we've already seen John Deere laying off folks over at a number of its plants. Mm-hmm. We've already heard from equipment sales that what's what I'm looking for? Equipment dealerships, that they're seeing a slowdown in sales. What's going to happen next? You know, you see this ripple effect. It's not just the farm; it's the entire farm economy that's going to collapse.
Tell us one more time how to get in touch with our legislators and who needs to move this football across the goal line here.
So lafarmbureau.org. At the top, you'll see a banner that says we need a farm bill now. Also, you can go to lafarmbureau.org/farm bill, and that'll take you directly to it. All you got to do is a couple of clicks, and you are sending a message to both of our senators and your congressman or a representative in Congress, or you can just call them directly. Okay. I mean, that's another, just tell them that we need supplemental assistance now.
He is Avery Davidson with the Farm Bureau of Louisiana. Man, I greatly appreciate a couple minutes this morning.
Brian, anytime.
It's 8:50. Here's your money now. Awesome stuff.
That worked?
Oh, that was awesome. That was, but I'm glad we got to stretch it out because we got to cover everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been really squeezed down otherwise. Yeah. So.
I can say a lot real fast. Me and Pat Machida.
Who?
Pat Machida, the Micro Machines man.
Oh, my God. Okay, yeah. What is that throwback to the late 80s, early 90s?
He was also Blur in the Transformers animated movie.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
The stupid shit.
See? Yep.
You know Simpsons. My wife would have been able to know that. Lauren would have had Simpsons rolling off her tongue. Animaniacs.
Animaniacs is a good one.
Freakazoid. Some Tiny Toons. Not as much as Animaniacs. I fell in love with Animaniacs hard. And the sad thing is, I was already was I a senior in high school when Animaniacs came out, or was I a freshman in college?
Animaniacs would have been
92.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 50.
I didn't realize you were older than me. I mean, 2 years, but still.
Yeah. So yeah, that was.
Yeah, Animaniacs. I was in high school at the time, so you might have been in college by then.
All right. Well, I hate to talk and run, but I have to be on a Zoom call in 8 minutes.
I appreciate you sticking around. Thank you so much, Avery.
Hey, call anytime you need. Shoot me a text. John, nice meeting you, man.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you, sir.
Do a good job taking care of him.
Yes, sir.
Before he was at the Farm Bureau, he was at WAFB. Guy's a pro's pro. So good. so good.
Yeah, very concise, very to the point. Just
Tells the story well.
Yeah.
He's our featured today, by the way.
oh, okay.
And when you post that, I want like you know where the breaking point was on the intro, so I could once I was done with the lobby spot, that's where you'd pick it back up to combine them together.
To be honest, it's already done.
Okay.
Yep, it's already combined.
Cool.
I'm about to run it through. Yeah, so it sounds like one just continuous. Even before you asked him if he could stay another segment, I kind of clipped all that out. It just sounds like a long running.
So, this works out because I'm gonna be off for the next 2 weeks, so I'm gonna do his interview and Dr. Strain's interview for community concerns, and I could just let that rerun because it will all still be pertinent information.
So Plaquemines next, right?
Yeah.
All right, I got that queued up.
Troy says, I thought Rubio was the reason Trump reversed Obama's policies in 2016. Was Donald Trump listening to Marco Rubio in 2016 at all? Remember he was still little Marco at that time and he was an opponent. So I don't know. Oh my goodness. Coach Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers face Seton Hall Tuesday at 5 p.m. in Illinois, Chicago. Thursday at 7 as part of the Basketball Hall of Fame Women's Showcase. Hear the Tigers all season long on your home for LSU women's basketball. They'll be right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It's 8:56 at Talk 107.3. Not quite done yet. Not ready to hand off to Moon Griffon and the Moon Griffon Show. Do want to take a quick second to thank all the guests who came on today. Just fantastic content from start to finish, really. We had Jeff Crouere talking all things New Orleans in our 6 o'clock hour. Buildings are falling down. Violent crime is down by 40%. And Mayor LaToya Cantrell is basically not even clocking in for work anymore. That was the sum of that one. We had Anna Johnson from the West Baton Rouge Chamber highlighting a number of the victories that West Baton Rouge has seen over the past year. Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation was on with us in the 7 o'clock hour as well. He was talking about kind of a few of the highlights that BRAF has taken on over the past year. Early childhood education being a part of that. Plan Baton Rouge 3 being a part of that. And Safe BR being a part of that. And then we just got done with Avery Davidson, who was nice enough to stick around for 2 segments to talk about the Farm Bill and where our farmers are at right now and just how desperate and dire the need is. Hey, before we get you to the outside in, John, I didn't listen to Your Money Now during that last break because Avery was still here and we were saying our goodbyes and whatnot. I did, however, listen to Your Money Now back at 6:50, and did I hear right that Louisiana's making some national headlines on the money front?
Yeah.
I'm Nicole Murray with Your Money Now. Plaquemines LNG has started production, becoming the 8th liquefied natural gas export facility in the U.S. to come online. Officials with Venture Global said Plaquemines LNG started producing 30 months after the company made a final investment decision on the $21 billion project. That makes it one of the fastest greenfield LNG terminals to start operations.
Good for Plaquemines Parish right there. It's nice to see Plaquemines Parish doing well.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah,
right?
no, I understand. I understand. Let's hit the outside in.
All right.
Starting off with Tangible Hoo-Ha Parish. If we're just mispronouncing parishes,
Why not?
That's
Yeah.
where I'm going with that one. Actually, no, I got to dial this one in because it's a serious story. 2 men were arrested in Tangipahoa for sex crimes against children. One's accused of luring his victims to his home for chicken nuggets and sex. The Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office released the information about the 2 separate investigations yesterday morning. 37-year-old Preston Murray of Breaux Bridge was arrested on December 10th. 46-year-old Joshua Colley of Baton Rouge arrested on the 13th. Heading over to Assumption Parish, residents' garbage collection and sewer system fees will increase on January 1 of next year due to rising operated costs. Garbage collection fees will increase to $30 per household. There will be no longer be any frozen accounts. Sewer system fees for residents within a publicly operated district by the Assumption Parish Police Jury will go up $33 per household. Next stop, Vermilion Parish. The town of Erath has approved a half-cent sales tax to fund its police department, marking the first time the small community has implemented a tax specifically for law enforcement. That's going to do it for the outside in. That's going to do it for us. Stick around. Moon Griffon is next. All right, y'all. Getting out of here. Got to put together a Wednesday show, and I've got a busy Tuesday. I'm all over the dadgum place. So we shall see you on the morrow.